What up, YouTube? It's your boy Carter TV. I'm back with part 2 to the therapist. This time, this patient, his name is Fred Finders. We're going to talk about Fred Finders. You see what I'm saying? So, 3 months after Daniel's incident with Gary tried to kill him. He ended up crashing into a building, killing himself, dying, and Daniel walked away with a broken arm. 3 months after that, he recovered. He got back into the field. This time he had a new patient. His name was Fred Finders. Now, Fred was different from Gary. Feel me? Fred had issues with the women, and it stems back from his childhood. Fred's story basically when he was born, his mother was expecting to have a girl. And it turns out that Fred was a boy. So she mistreated him a lot during his upcoming. She always did it in private. She never did it in front of the father, because the father ain't go for that. You feel what I'm saying? So whenever the mother had Fred by himself, he'd get mistreated, he'd get abused. Sometimes she wouldn't feed him. And Fred strived through all that. You know what I'm saying? He made it through that. He started feeling like women always treated men messed up because of the way his mother treated him. So it was hard for him to make friends with females. He gravitated towards guys. And by the time he hit middle school, is when you hit middle school is around the time you start most likely liking. You like girls at a younger age, but you start really getting in tune with girls middle school, because some girls is young and fast. And around that time when Fred was going to school, some of the girls was young and fast. They was like kissing dudes and doing other things. You know what I'm saying? They was doing other things. And Fred liked this one girl who was real fast and popular. She was known for being, a cute girl with a nice body for her age. You feel what I'm saying? She was about 13 years old. She was a ginger. She was a little redhead, and she knew how to hold her own. She came from a background of, an abusive father and a drug addict mother. So she used what she had to get what she wanted. And during middle school days is when she learned that her body could get her what she wanted from some of these guys. So it's either she teased them or she pleasured them. Fred, he found her very attractive. He liked what he saw. And this one particular time, she teased him. She saw that he was watching her and the whole nine. And then what happened was she was in the locker room. Fred didn't know anybody was in there. He ran in there basically to use the bathroom. She was in there showering. Fred saw her butt naked. He saw how her body was. She was nice shape size, nice plump, bosoms. You know what I'm saying? Shorty was decent for her age. And that caught Fred's eye. So she started teasing him in the shower, dancing, looking back at him, doing shit to get him going. And he started to get aroused, grabbing himself. She peeped that. So after that, she turned the shower off. He ran. And she called him. She was like, "Hey, where you running to?" So he was just nervous. So she just fondled him a little bit, got him all excited. And Fred ejaculated in his pants. And she was like taken back, like laughing at him. So what she did, decide to play on him throughout the rest of the school year. So we're going to fast forward to 8th grade. 8th grade is when Fred started to make a change in his behavior when it came to women. He thought this girl, Sarah, really liked him, this and that and the third, but she always played on him. And she low-key humiliated him throughout the school year. And this one particular time, she used her sex appeal to get him aroused, and she recorded him. And in the midst of her recording him, he ejaculated in his pants. And then when she seen that, she started laughing. And then all the other guys and all the other girls came out, saw him, was laughing at him, making videos. They posted videos on social media, and he was a laughing stock of school which by then he went to high school. Throughout high school, his freshman year, he ran into the same girl again. This time in high school was a much different environment. You know what I mean? Girls was having sex, guys smoking cigarettes, weed. You know what I mean? Some was even drinking. So, that being said, Fred got introduced to drinking in 9th grade. And when he got drunk, he got violent. So he came across Sarah, the ginger-haired girl, at a party one night. And she was basically trying to humiliate him in front of her new crowd. Fred wasn't going for that this time. He was drinking, and he told her, bitch, shut up. Bitch, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Shut your slut ass up. And everybody was taken back because they were surprised he spoke. Mind you, he was under the influence, and he was around his friends, and they was like cheering him on. Yeah, Fred, speak up for yourself. And then he got in her face. You a slut. You do all this shit. You done fucked every guy in here but me. You got the nerve to sit here and talk about me? Fuck out of my face, bitch. And he walked past her. Now, she got humiliated by that because they was laughing at her. So she tried to strike him and beat him up. But he ended up just moving out the way and mushing her, right? And then went about his day. By then, she ran away crying because she got embarrassed. The party went on. After the party, Fred was walking home. Two guys and Sarah saw him, drove up on him, and they was jumping. In the midst of them jumping, mind you, Fred is still drunk. He woozy. He talking to himself. You know what I mean? He freshman, 9th grade. They started picking on him. Fred come to, realizing how strong he was. Boy was about 195. He was about 5'7" in 9th grade. So when he started to see blood on his face, that's when he realized it was getting serious. So Sarah wanted to continue to beat him up. She told the dudes to strip him. The dudes was like, I ain't doing all that. So when they tried to strip him, he kicked one of the dudes in the face. The other dude was looking back like, oh, so he tried to swing on him. Fred picked the boy up and slammed him on his neck. The boy was shaking like, oh, my neck. So she was like, oh, you weirdo. So she tried to strike him with a crew bar. She picked up a crew bar and tried to strike him with it. She missed. He grabbed her, brought her closer in like this, smelled her hair. He got aroused from her feeling on her body. Then he started fondling her. Started grabbing on her titties, perking her up. She like, get off me, right? So what happens was the boy that he kicked in the face, he got up and went at him. Fred took the crowbar and smacked boy in his head with it, knocking him out. After that, the other boy was coming too. And when he woke up, he saw Fred on top of Sarah, raping her. Had her legs on his shoulders and just straight going to work. Flipped her over, gave her a back shot, straight pounding her. Boop, boop, boop. Tearing her a whole new one. She in there screaming for her like, you raping me. Pounding her out, right? So Fred was like the demon. His face just went nuts. Pounding her out. Boof, 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 right? Then after he ejaculated in her. Then the boy was like, what the fuck, dude? After that, he was looking at her body. She was laying there helpless. He then got aroused again and put it in her anal and tore her a new one. That's when she really went bonkers. They ended up calling the cops. He got arrested, and he had to do 3 years in juvenile detention. So he came out mid-junior year, going back to school, a whole different person. He got bigger, and he got bigger, and he got taller. So Fred is a junior, about 17 going on 18. 17 going on 18. And he's a bigger dude now. Bigger dude. This time around, people at school didn't really gravitate towards him because of how big he was and what he went through while he was in the juvie. He was beating kids up in the juvenile detention center too. Now juvie is mixed. It's co-ed. It's boys and girls in his juvenile center. And while he was in there, he was also raping girls, but he wasn't getting caught. So fast forward about another 4 years, he's a grown adult, grown man. Fred has infatuation with raping women. So they put him in a mental institution because they said he was psychologically messed up, and they gave him a therapist, Daniel. Daniel became his therapist. Now, his first encounter with Daniel was very calm and was cordial. They talked for about 2 hours. They talked for about 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? They talked for like 2 hours. Fred opened up. He's like, I love women. And what I dislike about women is when they don't listen to me. I feel like I got a strong on them sometimes. I don't physically hit them, I don't physically harm them, but I do strong on them sometimes. They encountered, they talked, he basically told him what he was, and then you told him, like, you're here for, like, other things. Like, I read in your file that you've been in juvie. You had a rape charge, you raped a girl. So he basically, Fred told him, like, yeah, I raped that girl. I did that. I did my time, too. He said there was also some stuff you had going on in juvie. What is it about women where you gotta feel like you gotta get physical? And he basically told him, he was just like, sometimes I feel like they don't listen. And when they don't listen to me, I gotta get ugly. And he was like, are you? And then he asked Fred, he was like, do you want kids? Do you want like a future with a woman and everything? And he was like, I do. A woman of my own who will listen and obey me, not too much. So he's like, I think you should take another approach when it comes to women. Maybe you might have a better chance actually getting one of those type of women. So Fred was like, maybe you might be right. Maybe you might be wrong. And then he was like, do you have a woman? So Danny was like, yeah, I'm married. He said, does your wife listen? She has her days. She has her days. You feel me? She has her days when she doing what she don't. That don't make me want to get physical with her. You know what I mean? That don't make me want to get physical with her. And basically, that don't make me want to get physical with my wife because she don't listen. If she don't listen, and it may not benefit her. If she don't listen, then hey. What tend to happen is when she don't listen to me and she's asking me for help on something and she wants to do it on her own, well, she finds out the hard way when she doesn't listen to me. So I let her find out on her own. So Fred goes, oh, well, why don't you just strong arm? You're a big dude. You're like me. Put her in her place. Let her know this is men's world. We rule it. And then he flex. We rule it. You know what I mean? It's either us or the highway. And then he was like, that's not always the good way to go. I know you like your freedom. I know you like taking showers on your own, eating whatever food you want. Why would you want to put yourself in a system, in jail, where you got to deal with men trying to get at you? He said, I ain't scared of no men. Big as I am, strong as I am, I can hold my own. He said, it's different when it comes to real prison, bro. Trust me, I know. I got clients who've been in jail and they were afraid to go back because of how strong it's in. He said, well, they're not Fred. They're not Fred. Fred is the man. Yeah. But it was nice talking to you, Daniel. Let's do this again. And then he left for his session. So Fred basically wandered around town every other day. He worked at a warehouse. He had his own crib. He lived in a halfway house. He had a nice little overnight job working at a warehouse. Go home. After early evening, he would go to the bar, have a few drinks, then go to work. And at the bar, he met another lady. Now, this lady gravitated towards him. And every other day, he would come in, she would talk to him, give him conversations. And, other guys at the bar would try to talk to her, but she would dub them. But Fred was more blunt with her. He was letting her be known, like, she would take charge. And she gravitated towards that. And one guy was trying to bully the lady. The lady, his name was Lindsay. So they were trying to bully Lindsay, and Lindsay wasn't going for it. So he tried to hit her. He almost smacks her, and then Fred jumped in. And then Fred ended up beating the guy up. But the owner didn't really like Fred. So he told him he can't come back to the bar. So Lindsay liked that. Fred stuck up for her. So he gave her a number, and they eventually hooked up. And they eventually became a couple. And since they became a couple, Fred's demeanor towards women changed, but his urges didn't. You know what I mean? So after a while, Lindsay started to notice Fred's weird ways. He would watch porn. He would watch aggressive porn. He would watch rape porn, and that's the type of stuff he was into. And then one particular day, she came home and she heard a woman in the house screaming, and she seen Fred raping this girl, giving her the works. And the lady was looking for help, and she looked up. Fred looked up, and Lindsay walked in the room, and she was like, "Oh my God, Fred, what are you doing?" He goes, "Close the fucking door." And she's taken back. And the lady's asking her, "Please help me, he's raping me." "Close the fucking door or get out." So she closed the door. Fred continued to rape the girl. So she came in. She was like, "Fred, don't do this. Are you gonna help? Are you gonna join? Or you fucking leaving?" She ends up joining, holding the girl down while Fred put pounds on her. And she then turned the girl over and said, "Eat me, bitch." And then Fred looked up and was like, "Yeah, I like that. Eat her." No, the girl was like, "No, I don't want to do that. Get off me. Get off me." So Fred turned the girl over, pushed the girl's face in between Lindsay's legs, and then continued to go to work on her butt, on her anal, and went to work, and they raped the girl together. That threw Lindsay off. She was still processing what happened, and Fred told her, he's like, "I like raping women. Now, I don't like raping you. I like to make love to you. You're my woman. We're going to get married. We're going to have our own kids, and we're going to continue to live our life. You down for that?" Lindsay was just like, "Yeah." She got stuck at married. They ended up getting married. Fred continued to see the therapist. And when he went to the therapist, he told the therapist, like, "Me and my wife." So Daniel was like, "You're married now?" He's like, "Yeah. Me and my wife had our first threesome. It was lovely. It was a wonderful experience. I was in control of everything. I felt I had power. 2 women at their mercy between my legs. Oh, wonderful." So he asks Daniel, the therapist, "You ever had a threesome?" So Daniel goes, "It was a fantasy of mine back in my younger days. I just prefer one woman." He said, "You don't know what you're missing. 2 women for the price of one? Now that's special." So Daniel chuckled. He was like, "That's quite an experience." He was like, "Yeah, I can't wait to do it again." So Daniel goes, "So you and your wife just like having people in a relationship?" He's like, "We just do it for fun. We do it for fun. It's good. I like it. You should try it. You might like it too." So he said, "Our session's almost up, and I'm feeling like it's time for another guest in the house." He was like, "Make sure you strap up." And he was like, "Yeah, if it happens, it happens. I can spread a lot of me all over the world. All over the world." So the therapist was like, "I don't think that's such a good idea." So in the midst of 3 weeks, Fred and his girlfriend Lindsay have raped over 15 women. Over 15 women. Now, mind you, he's still going his therapy sessions, but he's raping women in the process. He would go to the therapist, boop, 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 boom. It's coming down. I think it was like the second to last before his final session with the therapist. And Fred's mentality to women has changed. He's more open with them. He's more calm with them, but he's also still raping them because it's keeping him sane for some sort of reason. He has Lindsay. Lindsay finds out she's pregnant, and they're still raping women. Now, what makes the story turn is the fact that the receptionist where Daniel works didn't like Fred because of how ruthless he was and how his background is. And somebody that Fred raped, him and his wife, told the therapist, and they were real cool. So the receptionist told Daniel, was like, "I think Fred is out here raping women." So Daniel was like, what? Are you serious? He was like, yes. Somebody I know pointed him out and said that he got raped by her and his wife. And Daniel was like, what? Are you serious? Why didn't nobody arrest him yet? They didn't find physical evidence, and they didn't find anything. Plus, they was told that they reviewed him, and he had an alibi during the time of the rapes. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So, remember how Daniel's wife got kidnapped by Greg? Fred came across Daniel's wife, and she got drawn to Fred as well. She liked how aggressive he was because Daniel was kind of like a big dude, but he was like a teddy bear in a sense. But so she was at a bar one day, just stressed from work, and met Fred. Fred and Lizzie made a move on her, took her back to the place, and they ended up raping Daniel's wife. And she's been missing for 3 days. He hasn't heard from her. She finally comes to escaping Fred and Lindsay. Made it to the street, told them what happened, and they contacted Daniel because he put out a missing report. He said, we found your wife. She's at the hospital. She said she's been raped. And she described the man she raped and come out it was his patient. Daniel lost it. He lost it. So this second to last meeting, him and Fred had a meeting. The cops was already there, ready to arrest him. But before they arrested him, Daniel wanted him to confess. And he told him, he was like describing his wife in a sexuous way. And Fred was like, she sounds like something I done had. She sounds pretty familiar. And then Fred started describing the woman and how she had a mole, like in the middle of her back. And Daniel was like, how would you know that? He was like, Did that be your wife? Smiling. Yeah, me and my wife had a good old time with her. We did her justice. She was at the bar. She was stressed because of work, because of you, how weak of a man you are. All this is what Fred is saying. Daniel taking it in because he's catching him on camera. And what Daniel decides is as Fred keep talking, he was like, you're a weak man, Daniel. You're a therapist. You have a bitch job. Talk to people. You don't really strike me as a tough guy. So, hey, your wife came to a man. We did her justice for 3 days straight. And he just chuckled at him. This has been a good session, Fred. Daniel. But my time has come for me to go. Daniel got up. He locked the door. He tossed the camera that the feds put on him. And he gave Fred the business and beat the shit out of him. Feds busted in. They got him off him. He was beat up. He was locked up. What tended to happen next was Daniel's wife was pregnant. She wanted to keep the baby, and it was Fred's. He ended up divorcing her. He didn't want to be a part of that. So she looked at him and was like, you're weak. You don't want to raise this kid. This is our kid. No, that's Fred's baby. The man you confessed into. He left his wife. And that's how Fred's story ends. He goes back to jail. He ends up doing 35 to life. And he's in there. He's getting gang raped by the white side, the white supremacy. They take advantage of him and they bitch him. And that's where his story ends. Oh yeah, Lindsay ends up escaping town and ends up raising Fred's kid, his son. She ends up naming him Freddie. That's the story on Fred. It's your boy Carter TV, and I'm out.